The golden ratio is also known as a divine proportion, golden mean, or golden section. The golden ratio is used to describe aesthetically pleasing proportioning within something. One could scientifically calculate how beautiful they are by using the golden ratio. The golden ratio is 1.618, and you could compare any two things to see if they fit by adding them together and dividing by the larger number. If the proportion is 1.618, it matches the golden ratio. Since the measurement of how attractive one's face is using the golden ratio has been done many times, we will make it interesting by comparing it to an animal's face. The many times this experiment has been done, no one has ever scored a perfect 10. The average female ranges from a 4 to a 6. We will be measuring a human's face first. We'll measure Madeline Luscombe. The face forms a rectangle using the eyes as its midpoint. We are going to measure the width of the face and the length of the face. Then we will divide the length by the width. A normal person's length is 1.5 inches larger than the width. Then we will measure 3 golden sections: the hairline to the middle of the eyes, the ears to the bottom of the nose, and the bottom of the nose to the chin. If all of these are equal lengths, the person has a better chance of getting a higher number. Then last but not least, we will measure the length of the nose and the length of the ear. If they are all equal, then they have an even higher chance. With an animal, we are going to incorporate all of this to see how attractive Roxy the dog is. We will take all the same steps that we did for the human in order to measure the dog. After we've taken both measurements on the human face and the dog, we will then compare the ratios to see who is better looking.
The first measurement that we take is the length of the face. So the length of her face here is 5 inches on the dot. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the width of the face. About 7 inches. So taking the two measurements that we have, the length being 5 and the width being 7, we divide them. So 7 divided by 5 for our first ratio, and we get 1.4. The next measurement we're going to take is the forehead to the hairline. So moving her bangs over here, we got our hairline to her forehead, which is going to give me about 2.5 inches. Splitting the face up into 3 segments, first one being hairline to forehead, second being eye to the bottom of the nose, and the third being bottom of the nose to chin, we divide them separately and make 3 different ratios. So we divide the first segment by the second, then we divide the second segment by the third, and then we divide the third segment by the first. Then we measure the eye to the bottom of the nose. So from here to here, which is going to be, 2 inches. And then after that, we use the nose to the chin, kind of going in a downward pattern here. And that is going to be 2 2/8 of an inch. We're measuring the ear, which is 2 inches. And then we measure the nose as well. And if they're similar in length, then the more attractive the person is. And wow, her nose is 2 1/8. Next, we measure the eye length between the middle, compared to the middle of the eye here. Her eye length, or width, is 1.5. And the part between her eyes is going to be 1 3/8. This one, we take comparisons of 2 similar length facial features and divide them to make ratios. We compare the ear to the nose and divide them to get 0.94. Then we compare the width of the eye to the length between the eyes and get 1.09. Taking all of our ratios from the different parts that we've measured, we add them all together and we get our final total out of 10.
So first I'm going to measure the width of her face. The width is about 8 inches. Next I'm going to measure the length of her face. The length is about 10 inches. We will use Roxy's length, which is 10 inches, and her width, which is 8 inches, and divide them together to get 1.25 inches. Now I'm going to do the forehead to the bottom of her eyes, which is about 4 inches. Now I'm going to measure the nose to the chin, which is about 6 inches. Then we measure the forehead to the ears. It's about 7 inches. Splitting the face up into 3 segments, the first one being the hairline to forehead, second being eye to the bottom of the nose, and the third being the bottom of the nose to the chin. We divide them separately and make 3 different ratios. The first ratio being 4/6, second being 6/7, and the third being 7/4. Now I will measure the width in between the eyes and the width of the eyes. So in between the eyes is about 1.5 inches. The width of the eye is 1 2/8. Now I will compare the length of the ear compared to the length of the nose. And the length of the ear is about 4.5 inches. And the length of the nose is about 2 inches. We take comparisons of 2 similar length facial features and divide them to make ratios. We compare the ear to the nose and divide them to get 2.25. Then we compare the width of the eye to the length between the eyes and get 0.8. Taking all the ratios from the different parts we measured, we add them all together and we get our final total out of 10. Madeline scored a 6.3 out of 10, while Roxy scored a 7.5. We measured Roxy the same as a human and she scored relatively higher. This makes us think that humans and dogs can use the same calculations to measure facial attractions.